you think the world is going one direction, and then all of a sudden, overnight, things completely change. What an amazing 2 weeks this has been. I will see you on the other side. Welcome to everyone to this latest edition of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter, and for the past 5 years I have also been a cyclist and a fundraiser for AIDS Life Cycle, a 545-mile, 7-day journey raising money for the life-saving work of the Los Angeles LGBT Center and the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. I hope everyone is well. You can find me on the socials at Instagram as Gary Knits, Gary Rides. Also over on Ravelry as Gary Knits and Rides. I hope everyone is enjoying this little bit of summer and it's not too hot wherever you are. We've been pretty lucky. It's been gotten up there, but nothing like I think some of the rest of the country has seen. But my goodness, what a wild couple of weeks this has been. If you're not in the U.S., I'm sure you are feeling a little bit of it as well. But it feels like the entire state of the U.S. has changed in the last couple of weeks with Biden dropping out of the presidential race and Kamala Harris stepping in and becoming the presumptive nominee, and just has really changed the whole energy in the country. So that's pretty exciting. It was also an incredibly busy week for us. We have had a couple of dinner parties. We don't really do that very often just because of kind of where we live, and most of our friends don't live anywhere around us, but it was nice to be able to do some entertaining and to try out some new recipes and have some fun with some friends and family. Hollywood Bowl season has started, so we've had our first regular concert. We have a series of 6 shows every summer that are sponsored by our local public radio station. It's called the KCRW World Music Fest or World Fest or something like that. So it's always a mix of genres and nationalities. One of the nights, actually it's tonight, is always reggae night. So tonight it's 2 Marleys. I don't know if they're sons or nephews or whoever. We used to skip the reggae night because it's not really our jam. But a couple of years ago, I don't know, Ziggy Marley was playing, and it was like, oh, I know Ziggy Marley, and we actually had a great time. And it was so it's a very, it's always a pleasant time. The evenings in LA in the summer cool off pretty quickly, and it's just a beautiful venue. Just so almost regardless of what the music is, we end up having a nice time. So tonight's reggae night. But the first show we saw was Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. Opening act was Sylvan Esso. It was one of the shows that I was most excited about this summer, and it was fantastic. Jason Isbell, I've seen several times perform. He always puts on a great show. I've seen him more in an acoustic setting. This was with his hard rockin' band, so it was a little more intense, but it was also it was fantastic. And Sylvan Esso, who I love, opened up. I think it's always a challenge with electronica kind of music to engage the crowd. Especially when it's just a duo. I mean, I think she did a good job dancing around, and she sounded great, but it's just not as engaging as having a full band and all that. Anyway, so that has continued. We actually got free tickets to a midweek show, classical music. So we went last week and saw Stravinsky, not Rites of Spring. That's later this season. Firebird Suite, and then a Khachaturian violin concerto that the lead, the first chair violin, was doing the solo work on that. So that was lovely. So that's always a highlight of the summer. So we did that. We had the final show of our theater subscription at the Center Theater Group. It was Clue, not a musical, but it was basically like a staging of the Clue movie, which I love, or I did love in 1985 when I saw it when I was a teenager. I thought it was very funny, great cast. And the show was very much like a note-by-note recreation of the movie, so very slapsticky. We didn't really love it. Luckily, it was a short 80 minutes, and we were kind of in and out. I mean, the cast was good. It just, I don't know. Probably a show that didn't need to happen. But anyway, we went to see that, and sort of apropos of all of the political changes going on here in the U.S., I have ramped up my activity with my local Indivisible group. So every Sunday, in fact, I'm going to go this afternoon, we're doing letter writing through Vote Forward to basically low propensity left-leaning voters to try to encourage them to get out the vote. Our local group has decided to focus on Arizona because it's close, and I think maybe at some point we will try to organize maybe a weekend of door knocking in Arizona if we can get a group together. But we focused on Arizona for our letter writing, and I think we had originally planned to do like 35,000 letters, but because of the huge influx of people volunteering post the Biden announcement, I think they've upped that to try to get another 10,000 done before Election Day. So, I know there's a lot of people looking for ways to help given this new surge of energy. I would highly recommend checking out Indivisible, and if you have a local group to you, they're going to have a ton of resources on things that you can work on. So even if you're not in a swing state, even if you're in a completely blue or red state, there are ways for you to help in races around the country. If you're in a blue state like California, actually the battle for the House goes right through California and New York, because those are seats that we lost last time around that shifted the majority. So if we can win those back and give President Harris a majority in both houses, then I think a ton of good stuff can start to happen. So it's very exciting. When we first moved out to California, I was very involved in the original iteration of our local Indivisible group and did a bunch of campaign work for a couple of cycles. Kind of burned out a little bit on it, but hoping to get back into it this year. Probably will end up doing some door knocking down in Orange County. Katie Porter's seat that she gave up to run for the Senate is up for grabs, and that's one of the seats we need to win to shift the House back to a blue majority. So that's my little plug for go out and find your Indivisible group, and or go to Vote Save America, and they have all sorts of opportunities for you to volunteer, either phone banking, text banking, canvassing, all that stuff. So that has been a lot of stuff going on for the past couple weeks. In addition to the Olympics, the reason I'm filming in here today is because the Olympics tennis finals are going on in the other room, and my husband's a huge tennis fan, so he's watching those. We don't have cable, and so I'm kind of going to ignore the Olympics, but he got caught up in the fever, and so we signed up for whatever the streaming service that it's on for the month, and it was like $13. I was like, well, it's just like going to the movie, so enjoy that. So we've watched a little bit of it. He's way more into it than I am, but it's always kind of a fun time of every 4 years when those things happen. So that's been what has been going on. I should mention I'm going to try to keep this short, because I think next week, I'm not going to take 2 weeks as I normally did. This one's coming out a little bit late, but I want to do a review of the Flock Fiber Fest in Seattle. So I'm headed up to Seattle actually twice this week, once from business and then going back up for the weekend for Flock. And so I want to do a little recap of that, but that is what is coming up in the next week for me. So I'm super excited about Flock. I went last year. It was a fantastic first festival for them. It's gotten bigger. They've moved to what I think is a better venue in terms of location, because it's moving downtown instead of way out on the outside of town. So it's closer to hotels, restaurants, public transportation. So I think it's going to be great. And there are so many vendors that I am excited to see. So many of the Stitch Out Loud yarn dyers who participated with my a Stitch Out Loud yarn collection are going to be there. So like art and alchemy, Porter Wool Co., Pearl 2 Walla Walla, who else? Seismic's going to be there. Sea Change Fiber's going to be there. Reshma from Hello Lavender's going to be there. Fangirl, Fiber Co., Pacific Knit Co. There's just so many people that I have worked with. Teal Torch Knits, Cerulean Orchid, that I've worked with over the past couple of years, Royal Bee, that I'm so excited to see again in person. And so I'm really looking forward to. I'm only going to be there for Saturday for the show. So I'm planning just to spend all day on the floor, just bopping around and visiting with people. Hopefully I think they'll have some setup. So I'm going to take some knitting with me and, hopefully get to meet a lot of people. So to that end, last year they had Friday evening shopping. So the marketplace was open for a couple hours in the evening on Friday. And then a bunch of us, I kind of partnered up with Professor Pearl, Nicole at Professor Pearl. There was a brew pub nearby, and so a bunch of us just went over there and kind of hung out after the shopping was over, and some of the vendors came by. And since there is no Friday shopping this evening and the location is right downtown, I looked into and found a venue called McMenamin's Six Arms. So it's about a 5 or 7 minute walk from the convention center and from, the hotels that are right around there. And so I reached out to the manager and I said, listen, I don't want to book anything, but if a bunch of us just kind of showed up, is the place set up for where we could sit around and have some food and drinks and like knit for a while? And they were like, oh yes, we have this like upstairs loft area that can seat like 40 people. So that sounded perfect to me. So we are going to pregame the Flock Fiber Festival. So I will be there starting at 5:30 until at least 8. The bar, I think, is open until 11. So if people want to go longer, perfect. We'll see how I'm feeling. We're going to have been out and about all day. We're going to go over to Bainbridge Island for the day on Friday. And so I may be a bit beat from that, but I will definitely be there from about 5:30 until at least 8 o'clock. So if you are going to be at Flock, I'll put all the details down below in the show notes, and here is a QR code. If you're not watching this on your device, you can scan that and go right to the show notes. I'll put the address and all that down there, but it's called McMenamin's Six Arms. It's like a brew pub. They have drinks, they have food, and we will be upstairs in the loft and come and go and come hang out for a little bit. Hopefully some of the vendors who, after they've finished their setup at the convention center, if they're not completely exhausted, hopefully some of them will be able to swing by as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible. I'm going to try to remember to bring name tags because I'm terrible, and if you see me at Flock, I apologize in advance. I'm much better with your Instagram name than keeping track of who everyone is on Instagram, but I'm going to try. But I'm thinking about bringing name tags to the bar, so it makes it a little less awkward for folks. But I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. So that is coming up, and so what I want to do is do a little recap of Flock. If I get my act together, I'll try to film some video along the way to make maybe like a little vlog as the weekend unfolds. But don't hold me to that, because I'll probably get chatting with folks and not do less filming and more chatting. So anyway, if you see me at Flock, please say hi. I'm looking forward to meeting new folks and catching up with a bunch of people that I've been working with over the past several years with all the fundraising and stuff going on. So that's very, very exciting. In terms of Craftivism for this week, there's a lot happening out there, and I think it's only going to ramp up as as we get closer to the election. So these, several of these are sort of election political related things. There is a maker on Instagram called Craftivism, and she has put together, I'll pop a picture of it up here, a pattern. It's going to be free. It's a cowl. It says vote, and the T is a uterus, so it makes the T in vote. And she's offering up that pattern on her Ravelry, I think on her website. I'll double check that. All the details will be down below. It's a free pattern, and she's just asking that if you download it and make it, that you make a small donation to the Harris campaign. But I think that's a really cool idea. There's a little hashtag that's starting to pop up, which is Makers for Harris. Sorry for that, and for my watery eyes. I just had a sneezing fit. But Molly Lee from Optimistic Soap Co. has started using that Makers for Harris hashtag. She had made a beautiful soap. I'll put up a picture of it up here. I have a bar in the bathroom, but I forgot to bring it in here. Called Madam President. I think she sold that out quickly, but she said she's going to restock it. And a portion of the sales proceeds are going to be donated to the Harris campaign. So she started using that Makers for Harris. I've started to see it pop up in other places. So if you are a designer or dyer or whatever, and you're thinking about doing some sort of fundraising for around the election, go ahead and use that hashtag, and let's see if we can get that going. Also on the election front, I just wanted to bring to your attention, there's no action right now, but there's an organization, I highlighted it, I guess, whenever the last midterms were. It's called Warm the Line, and to my knowledge, they sort of sprung up during the Senate runoff elections in Georgia last time round. As I'm sure most of you are aware, there are huge efforts by mainly one of the political parties to suppress the vote and keep people, make voting more difficult all around. One of the ways they do that is closing down polling locations and limiting the number of polling locations so that folks have to stand in long lines for hours on end in order to cast their vote. Oftentimes, given when elections happen here in the States, that is during the winter and cold, uncomfortable temperatures. So this organization, Warm the Line, has partnered up with other groups around the country in battleground states where voter suppression is at most prevalent, and they collect and then through these organizations distribute hats and scarves and gloves of all sizes, because folks, if you're going to have to stand in line for many hours to vote, you may have to bring your kids with you. So they collect all those things and then distribute through these organizations to people in those areas, so that they aren't suffering in as much in the cold. And they have warm hats and scarves and things like that to keep them warm in the line. So that is Warm the Line. Details linked to their Instagram down below. I know they've just started posting information, and I think as we get closer, they will have a list of places where you can send those items heading towards November. So also, and we'll just stick on the sort of political craftivism things. Knitterino has put together a pattern. It's called the Freedom Knitters Tee. So it's a t-shirt sweater with a portrait of Kamala Harris on it, and they partnered up with a bunch of dyers for kits. The pattern, I think, is only available in the Knitterino app, and I think there are two versions of it. One is a duplicate stitch, and I think the other one may be some sort of color work, intarsia stranded combo situation to create the kind of pixelated photo. So they've teamed up with several dyers to put together kits. I know for a fact that Birch Hollow Fibers is donating $4 of each of the kits that they sell to a mutual aid group. And Kim Dijarn is also participating and donating $5 from each of her kits to the Harris campaign. So go check that out. Links down below. The last one I have for this week is Ross over at Twisted Ambitions Yarn. This is not political. Has come up with a new fundraising color. It's called Brave. Here is a photo of it. and he is donating $5 of each of the skeins of Brave, and I think maybe pairing it up with a few of his other colors to donate to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And I'm not sure exactly how long. I should double check that. It'll be down below. How long that fundraiser is running. I should have mentioned on the Knitterino pattern, the Freedom Knitters Tee, they are going to be doing a knit along starting on August 31st. And the hashtag that they're using is Knit for Freedom. So sorry about that. But on Ross's fundraiser, I'm not sure. I'll double check and put the information down below how long that is running. But $5 of each of that gorgeous color Brave is going to be donated to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So that is it for Craftivism. As always, if you see something, say something in terms of Craftivism ideas. DM me, email me at GaryKnitsGaryRides@gmail.com. I would love to share that. I have a really exciting one to talk about next time as a collaboration that I'm doing. I kind of hinted about it on the last episode, but when I'm back from Flock, I will talk about it and give you all the details. It's going to be fun for one of the organizations that I'm most passionate about. So look ahead for that. In terms of knitting, as busy as the last couple of weeks have been, I just feel like I am starting all of the things. I do have an FO, but I have many more whips. And my FO, let's talk about the FO first. So I posted this on Instagram already, but if you didn't see it over there, I did finish it's gigantic, my Bethel shawl. So this was a knit-along project back in the spring. Pattern is by Pine Needles and Poppies, Cassie. Pine Needles and Poppies is her Instagram handle. It is a DK weight. As you can see, is gigantic, schlankety, super cozy. I love the fringe. I have not put fringe on a lot of things, but I loved it went much faster than I thought. But I'm loving that, and I think this is going to get some great use as we get later into the fall and have outdoor concerts and stuff. Just because it is super duper cozy, and it was really fun, pretty fast. Not mindless, but not super challenging in terms of like having to concentrate on every last stitch. So really fun. There's some lace in there, some drop stitch sections, and then just lots and lots of garter. So this was done on Royal Bee Yarn Co.'s non-superwash DK base, and the color was Gary's Guacamole. So Kelly at Royal Bee had put together these kits for the knit along, and I just love how the color turned out. It's naturally dyed, so there's just a ton of depth and tonality, and I wouldn't say variegated, but you definitely get some into the sort of yellowy bits of the color, but it really does look like guacamole. So that is the only FO that I have. I would say I have an almost FO, which is being knit for Flock, so I got to finish it here. I'm probably going to finish it today if I have a few minutes. I don't want to take it on the bus with me to Hollywood Bowl just because there's so little of it left to do, so I'll probably take one of the other projects. But this is my 2-in-1 bandana from Maxim Cyr, Max the Knitter. This is using Les Garçons, I want to say British 4-ply, is that what they call it? That's right. British 4-ply. So it's 70% BFL, 30% Masham, non-superwash. 2 colors, fingering weight. The sort of grayer blue is Abador's Waters, and the dark navy is Lewis's Shade. Again, really fun. It's a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm down to like the last inch. So it's a little bit bigger than I thought it would be, but I think it'll be a good size just to have a little something to show off at Flock. I think last year the weather was quite warm. It may be quite warm in Seattle this year as well, but I think the venue is indoors. Last year it was kind of like an open air thing. So it's probably going to be air conditioned, so hopefully it's not going to be too hot, but I guess if it is, I'll just sort of drape it and not tie it around my neck. But I love the pattern. I would love to do this again in like a linen. This is very light, and because of this sort of broken rib pattern, it is pretty airy. But I love the way that it's turned out. It's a really, once you kind of get the gist of the pattern, it's pretty easy. You starts at a little tip, gets wide till halfway point, and then you start decreasing it, greasing it down. But I think it's very clever the way that the pattern works, so that the fold just sort of naturally happens, and you can kind of showcase either one side or the other if you don't want to open it up. So this will be finished up in the next day. Oh no, dropped all my stitches. Please hold. I'm going to fix that before we go on. Okay, well that'll teach me not to not use stitch stoppers. But luckily, the non-superwash yarn is sticky, so it didn't drop anything. The needle fell out, and I was able to slip it right back on. So that is the 2-in-1 bandana from Maxim Sear Max the Knitter, who are going to also be at Flock. So I'm looking forward to seeing Max and Vincent there and showing them I got to take my Bethel shawl too, because I want to show Kelly at Royal Bee her yarn in action. So I'll have both of those things with me, although I don't think I'll probably need that heavy shawl in the middle of summer in Seattle. So those are the two FOs and almost FOs. As I said, I've been starting lots of things. I have one project that I can't talk about because it's a secret, but it's about halfway done, and at some point I'll be able to show that off. But I've started a pair of basic vanilla socks for my sister-in-law. Here's where I am. I'm doing 2 at a time, magic loop. This is the Otter Pop Disco yarn from the Stitch Out Loud collection from Always Be Kind Yarn. So I'm just doing the mini skein was red on this skein, so doing that for heels, toes, and cuffs. I've got a few more rows of the cuff to do, and then it'll just be a plain vanilla sock. We took her measurements. I'm going to be using kind of the recipe from the Kate Atherley Custom Fit Socks book. So we took her measurements when she was here while we were on vacation, and she had bought the I don't know if I've said this before, but she saw the listing. She's not a knitter, and saw sock set and said, "Oh, does that mean you get the actual socks?" And I said, "No, unfortunately, no. You just get an extra skein, but I will happily make them for you." So I'm going to get those done. I'm discovering that maybe it's just because I'm not spending enough time consistently on them. Compared to 9-inch circulars, I feel like my magic loop knitting I know it's 2 at a time, but it just seems slow relative. I had to do some work yesterday and the day before on my Knit Stars pattern, the permission slip stitch hat and mitts. It's out with testers. Someone found an issue in the pattern, and I just wanted to go through and double check it. So I was doing a lot of knitting on the mitts and on small circumference. It was going so fast compared to what's going on with those socks. So I don't know if maybe the magic loop, obviously you've got a little more manipulation, so maybe that just slows it down or makes it feel slower. But I do like the idea of doing them 2 at a time, so that when you're done, you're done. But I am thinking once I finish, I'm going to test knit my own pattern for the hat and mitts, just as sort of a final go through and double check that, once the testers have given me feedback, go back and just try to test it on my own to make sure that every line is right. But once I finish those, on the little 9-inch circulars, I think I want to start a pair of socks for myself, and so maybe I'll just do them 1 at a time on 9-inch circs. Not that I don't have a pair of socks for myself underway, which I do, so these will be finished first. This was my big knitting fail from last time. These are the Coasting Along MKAL Socks from Slip Slip Sis. I have redone the heel flap and turn the heel on these. It still looks big, but I think these are just going to be kind of big slouchy Birkenstock socks anyway, so I'm not going to fuss around with it too much. I love this detail on the heel flap. I love that little stitch, and it looks so much better now that I actually followed the directions and did the right number of rows for the thing. So I need to sit down and re-look at the pattern. If you'll recall, this is all Stitch Out Loud colors from my fundraiser. So I'm using every color of the yarn, and then the gray is the asphalt color from Yuriko Oki. And I just need to go back. I had to tweak the repeats so that I was able to incorporate every single color. So I just need to go back before I do the pickup for the gusset and just make sure that I've got the sequencing correct. And yeah, and then go from there. Again, this is not great travel knitting because there's probably another 6 or 7 colors, and I don't want to carry around all those balls of yarn. So this is going to be more like a home project. I need to come up with, I guess the other socks is a good travel project since I've got 4 airplane flights this week. But I'm loving how these are turning out, and so hopefully I tried them on, and even though they look big, they actually kind of fit okay. So I'm hoping that they're not going to be too big, but I'm enjoying the pattern so far. So that's Coasting Along MKAL, Slip Slip Sis, and these are all my Stitch Out Loud colors. So other long-term whip that is now I keep thinking it's nearing finish, but I'm about I would say probably 2/3 of the way through, 60%, a little over 50% through. This is the Dahlias and Honey shawl from I Knit You Not on Instagram. It is being done in a Lola Bean Yarn Co. black label color called Prince and the Revolution. The Beautiful Ones, it is a merino and silk fingering weight yarn. And like I said, I'm about a little over halfway done. I'm into a section now that's doing these sort of like little fan shell stitch things for several rows, and then you go back to I think a couple more rounds with the bobbles. This is to be a birthday gift for my mother, so that's end of the month, August. So I have a few more weeks to work on that. So this actually will probably be even though I don't usually think of bringing crochet on travel, that may become a travel project as well. Now that I've kind of gotten back into it and picked up the rhythm of it, I think that should be okay. Moving on, I have a hat. What's supposed to be in there? That's what that went. I've started a hat, not gotten very far. It's called the Aspen Hat. It is by Kalura Hudson, who is Kalura on Instagram. Here it is. Just got the ribbing and just started some of the cabling. Here's a picture of the finished product, but it's a cute cabled beanie. A friend of mine in San Francisco, over a year ago, I was there, and something had happened to a hat that she had, and I said, "Oh, I'll just knit you one." She lives not too far from Firebird Yarns, so I went down to Firebird Yarns, which I'd never been to before, and picked up this yarn, which is Simply Natural by Simply Natural by Haiku in this dark gray color. It is 40% baby alpaca, 40% fine merino wool, and 20% silk. So I think it'll have a nice, definitely nice hand, and it seems to have it has a decent structure to it, given the silk content. So I think the stitch definition is actually turning out pretty good. I always worry about alpaca because the fuzziness, I think, can take away from the stitch definition, but this is working out pretty well. Should be a relatively quick knit since it's worsted, and I think it's on 7s or something. US 7s. So it should be a pretty quick knit. I'm going to put this little pom-pom on it, and hopefully she'll have that before it gets too cool in San Francisco. She doesn't know it's coming, and she's not going to watch this, so it'll be a surprise, and I'm sure she's forgotten that I even said I would do it. But better late than never, always with my gift knitting. Speaking of gift knitting, the other major thing that I started over the last couple of weeks, and I'm so excited about this, is the Crochet Blanket. So here's a picture by Carol Feller, one of my fellow knit stars and someone who I got to meet when I was in Ireland last year on vacation. Absolutely lovely designer, amazing cable genius, and it's definitely going to be the most ambitious project that I've ever worked on. So it is, as you can have seen in the photo, a kind of Aran cable-y blanket. It's done in, I think it's worsted weight, maybe it's DK. And the trick to it is there are 8 different cable charts of varying heights. So 36, 12, 4, 6, all different heights. And then there are, I think, 18 panels across, with some spacer stitches, in between each of those. But so several of the charts are repeated more than in more one places. So this big central one, and then kind of a mirroring that goes on the outside. So it's a ton of charts. I wasn't really sure how to. I've only ever worked with one. How to keep track of things. Someone suggested Knit Companion, which I have started using and really enjoy. And I watched Very Pink Knits does a whole wonderful tutorials package on advanced things in Knit Companion. One of which is being able to, from your PDF, pull out charts and then combine them, and you can stack them on top, so you could get everything into a 36-inch chart. But because of just the sheer number of the charts, and the fact that a couple of them, which are just 1/1 right cross left cross, those aren't charted in the pattern, they're just written out, so there's no chart to pull out from the PDF. So I was going to have to recreate that on my own. What I was trying to do was create this sort of master chart where I could then just use Knit Companion and follow each row and work all the way across, even excluding the spacer stitches, that happen between each of the panels. It just got so cumbersome, and so it became so big that it was microscopic when I was trying. So I was going to constantly have to be pinching to zoom on the tablet or the phone to see where I was, and I was just this seems like it's going to take me as much time to put this chart together, and then extra time to enlarge it as I try to work across, that there may be a better solution than that. So what I have ultimately decided, and we talked about this in my knitting group, and people had various ideas, is I got a big, make sure they have stitch stoppers this time. I got a big pad of sketch pad. I don't know, it's bigger than legal, 9 by 12, 11 by 14. Oh my, that's legal, I don't know. And I just cut out the charts themselves, and pasted them on there. And then, I don't want to give too much away, but what I've done is I based everything on the largest chart, which is 36 rows. Then there's some 12s and 6s. I guess there are no 4s. And then there's some that are just 2. And I've gone through, and so you can see, let's see here. So I've gone through and labeled what the corresponding row would be when you get to a repeat. So for instance, if I'm on row 23 on the big chart, I know that is a row 11. On a 12 chart, it is a 5 on the 4 charts, etc. And so sorry, I dropped everything here. All I need to do really then is maintain control of knowing which row I am on the big chart. Each chart then has a color code that corresponds to a stitch marker on the project, so that as I'm going along, I'm marking what row I am on the big project on one of these twice shared sheep chain row counters. So right now I know that I'm about to go onto row 10. I finished row 9, and then I can just go along, and as I work through the pattern, I know when I get to green, I'm going to be working at chart number D, and I'm on row 10, so that means I'm going to be on well, that's row 10 as well, but because it's only 12 rows long, and I haven't finished a full repeat yet. And then just work along, get to purple, know that is a cable B, and so I have all of those charts marked with corresponding color, but this is how it's actually this is an alpaca wool. I'll tell you about the yarn in a second. It's an alpaca wool blend, and I was a little worried when I started that it was, again, the stitch definition wasn't be great, but I think actually the cables, given this the reverse stockinette base that everything has, really, really pop out. It's going to be drapier and sort of airier than I think if you'd used like a traditional woolly, 100% wool. But I'm having so much fun with it, and it's way, now that I have the setup done, and I'm a third of the way through, not quite, the first repeat, and it's working amazingly well. Like I can pick it up, stop and start, and very quickly figure out where I am. And as long as I'm consistent and using that little chain row counter to always know where I am in the big chart, it seems to be working really well. So I'm excited, and it's not nearly, now that the system is in place, it's not nearly as daunting as I thought it was going to be. So I'm really happy with the way that this has come together. I think it would have been cool to be able to do it in Knit Companion. I think if it were just like 3 charts, that's probably easily done to cut and paste those in and stack them up so that you get the right height. But as a more analog solution, I think this is working out really well. And this is a housewarming gift for one of my dearest friends, long delayed, because she's had her house now for, I don't know, a year, 2 years. And she picked out the pattern. We picked out the yarn together. Again, I started, it is Plymouth yarn called Quaker something. It's out of reach. 50% wool, 50% alpaca. I'll put all the details down below. When I started swatching, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure that we made the right yarn choice. The alpaca is going to be super cozy. It's also going to be super sheddy, but I was a little concerned about the sort of stitch definition, but I think it's working out pretty well. So I'm excited, and I don't know how long this is going to take me, but I'm really enjoying working on it, and much more able to work on it, like watching, like last night I was able to work on it watching swimming on the Olympics. So I really had thought this was going to be, I got to sit and concentrate, but the system is really making it quite simple. So I would love to hear from anyone down below who's ever worked on like a multi-charted pattern, and what sort of system you came up with to keep track of things. But I'm really enjoying how that's working out. Lots of gift knitting, and I think this last, I'm just looking to make sure I'm getting everything. I think this last one actually is a good segue into acquisitions, because it ties into both an acquisition gift and some yarn that I purchased. We have a new baby, not us, but there's a new baby coming into our orbit. Friends of ours who recently just moved away, which is very sad, but they are having a baby later this fall, and my sister-in-law's family gave me for my birthday, which was a few weeks ago, this book called Mix and Match Modern Crochet Blankets by Esme Crick, and it's essentially a Stitch dictionary, but what she has done is come up with all of these different sort of motifs, and then has this sort of recipe where you can mix and match the different motifs in doing these strips that you then join together into a blanket. And she has several of them where she has, you know, pre-curated a grouping of them. And this is actually the model for the one that I'm going to be making. And then, you know, gives you like how many to chain to get, you know, get this height, and then they all work to, you know, to the same length. Then you stitch them all together, and you can put a border on it if you'd like. She recommends, and since I'd never used it and it seemed like, you know, a good option for a baby blanket because it's washable, the Shapius crafter, what's it called? Color crafter. I had to look up how to say Shapius. And I'm still probably getting it wrong, but hopefully better than saying sheepies, which is what I was doing before. So this is 100% acrylic. It's very soft. It says anti-pilling. You know, I think this is great for a baby blanket. I don't know, and for a blanket in general. I'm not sure I would make something garment-wise for myself with it. It's sort of a DK weight, and I got 5 colors. I think we know the sex of the baby, but I didn't, and it's I think it's a little boy. But I didn't want to go like super blue. So it's like, this is a blue, but it's more like turquoise and greens, and there's like a bright lime in there as well. So I'm adjusting one of the stripes from the one that she does, because it was really like almost like shag carpet, like loopy, and I don't know. I don't think the loops would be long enough to get a baby's hand caught in, but like fingers and stuff like that, I figured I'd do something that was a little more smooth. So this is I'm doing substituting one of them in. But this is a great travel project as well. So maybe all my travel things are going to be crochet, because you're basically just, you know, working on these little strips, and that's super portable and easy to work on airplanes and things like that. Although I think after this week, I don't know that I have a ton of anything happening travel-wise until October. So so that is the, I don't know if it has a name, but it's the Mix and Match Crochet Blanket baby gift. So I bought a bunch of the Shapius yarn for that, as I mentioned. In terms of other acquisitions, I mean, obviously flock is happening, so I assume there will be some things. What I think I'm going to do, because I do not need any yarn for myself, but what I think I might do is kind of use shopping at Flock as a way to kind of restock some of the prize stuff for future giveaways. I'm down to just a handful of bags, and 2 of those are going to be given away in an announcement that I'm going to make here in a minute. And I think maybe I'll just go through the yarn and sort of see what I need weight-wise, put some of the old stuff that hasn't been picked by folks when they've won into the Destash for Good pile, and then reload with some stuff for Fox, so that way I'm able to be sort of like helping small businesses and getting my fix in terms of buying yarn, and then I'll have some new stuff to give away. In terms of other acquisitions, though, I did get my Woolens and Nosh monthly sock set. This one is called Porch Knitting. I saw someone who had cranked this up already, or maybe Michelle had posted it up. It's really pretty. That's amazing about self-striving yarns. It was hard for me to sort of figure out what this was going to look like, but I saw it knit up, and I'm really excited to turn that into a pair of fun summer socks. Self-striping yarn, it's a problem. It's a problem for me. Mud Punch, who is another amazing dyer up in Canada of self-striping yarn, had a shop update recently. There were some like holiday themed colors, and just some colors that I thought were really fun. So I bought some. This one is the one that's the most holiday-y of them. It's called Slay My Way. So not like super in your face Christmas colors, but gives you the vibe. The other 2 that I got, this one's called Green on Me, Here's Mud Punch. And then the last one, which I just love this one, is called Paradise Alpha. So very, very bright and fun. I think I have enough self-striving yarn to last me a lifetime. The other thing that I got, I mentioned, going to the Hollywood Bowl, and one of the things that we get to do occasionally is go to rehearsals at the Hollywood Bowl. So usually it's rehearsals for the Philharmonic when they're there, and they don't open it to the public, but if you're a subscriber, you can get so many invitations to the rehearsals, but they're in the morning. So they usually start about 9:30 in the morning, and they run until noon or so. And it is in the evening. The Hollywood Bowl is very pleasant because the sun goes down behind the hills, and it's nice and shady. Even if you get there early for a picnic, it's usually pretty pleasant. But in the middle of the morning, it is just sun right on you, and I am not good for the sun, or the sun's not great for me, I should say. So I wanted to knit a hat, or crochet a hat, like kind of there's a new granny stripe bucket hat pattern that just came out, and I can't remember. Martin up north, I think, is the guy who made it. So that's on my list. I have some old Kotlin from Knit Picks that I wanted to try to work on that. But then I guess I was just trolling through Ravelry, and I saw this pattern it's called the Worn This Way hat. So it's a pattern by Wool and the Gang, and there's just, that's basically it. It's just basically like a big kind of sun hat kind of deal, but it is knit in raffia yarn, which I don't have any of. So I decided that I just went to the Wool and the Gang. I've never bought anything from them before. No, I have no experience with the company, but they had a kit that got the pattern, and then you got a skein of the raffia yarn. So shocking no one, I bought it in navy blue, and I'm going to try to, once I wrap up probably my mom's shawl, or get one more. I don't want to start one more thing because we're now at the very high end of my comfort level in terms of works in progress. So I definitely want to wrap up, maybe get the shawl wrapped up, and then I will start on this. So if anyone has ever had any experience with raffia yarn, crocheting with it, let me know if there are any tips and tricks you might have. But I'm excited to kind of have, I'm excited to try a new fiber to work with, and I'm excited to have this hat to maybe take with me to the Hollywood Bowl and sit or any other event where I'm sitting outside. It's a very wide, I think it's a very wide brimmed hat, so it may look a little silly on me, but I'm less concerned about that than I am getting hot in the sun. So that, I think, is it in terms of the acquisitions. I expect that coming back from Flock, I will have no shortage of things to show next time. So that will be the plan, is next week after I'm back from Flock to try to do a quick little Flock recap for you. Hopefully it won't be as long as a normal episode, but I hope to have some cool things to show. Before I wrap up, I did want to announce that I have all of the giveaway winners for the End AIDS Pride Knit Along. So that was for the Follow Your Path shawl from Steph Made That, as well as the Coasting Along sock MKAL. So I have all those prizes to announce today, as well as the season grand prizes for the End AIDS Knit Alongs that started last fall and ran through Pride. So what I did for those was anyone who had an FO for any of the knit alongs along the way, I've been keeping track of them. So all the grand prize winners for the season were drawn from FOs. So we always like to reward participation more than completion, but I do feel like for the size of the prizes that are in the grand prize, that really celebrating the folks who finished the projects over the year is a great way to do that. So on the Pride knit along, so the shawl and the hat, we have the final WIP winners. So for the shawl, it was Walsh Central. If you see this, and I'm going to put the names up here as well. If you see this, reach out to me. If next week sometime, or if I get around to it today, I will head over to Instagram, and I think most of these people are Instagram folks, and I will put a post up over there as well. But reach out to me if you are one of the winners, and then we will sort out getting your prize to you. So, and for the Pride knit-alongs, I have some Pride yarn. The final FOs get a bag of their choice, and then the grand prizes are some additional Pride yarn, but more of it. So, final WIP winner on the shawl side was Walsh Central. On the sock side was Einfach Nora, with an underscore in between. On the FOs, the winner for the shawl was Must Hike, Must Eat, Shannon. Congratulations. That's going to be a bag of your choice. I will reach out to you about that, since I know who you are. And on the sock side, it's Pine Lake Chic, who I think I may be able to meet in person in Seattle, so I may reach out to you so that maybe I can bring your prize if I'm going to see you at the pregame for Flop. And then for the grand prize winner for the Pride knit along, where I just basically take everybody's name and throw it back in the hat, Shannon won grand prize as well for that. So I will bring you, I think that is a shawl blank from Neighborhood Fiber Company in the Pride colorway, so I will bring that up with me to Seattle, since I know I'm going to be able to see you there. And then on the sock side is Crafting Leia over on Instagram. So congratulations to everyone. Again, if you see this, reach out to me, either DM me on Instagram or email me at GaryKnitsGaryRides, all one word, at gmail.com, and we will sort that out for you. Then for the season grand prize winners, again, this is drawn from FOs from across from the whole year, and I was just going to do two, but I have a donation from early in the process. Lola Bean Yarn Co. donated one of their bucket bags in this bright pink and bright yellow, and so I decided I'd have a runner-up winner, and then the main prize is going to be splitting up one of the entire Stitch Out Loud collections between two winners. So they'll get all the stitch markers in the bag, and I think there's a couple of skeins where I have doubles of, and then I think it was about 10 more skeins each that they will get to pick and choose from the remaining colors. So for the runner-up, the Lola Bean bag, that is going to NJ Artist 14. Injiri, congratulations. And then the two winners for the splitting up the yarn collection, Sharisi, who won. So Injiri, you won from your spring knit along FO. Sharisi for a winter knit along FO, and then you're going to be splitting that up with Craftivism, who I mentioned earlier with her vote cal from a entry way back, or from an FO way back in the fall knit along. So congratulations to you all. For Sharisi and Craftivism, what I will do is, Sharisi was the first name that I drew, so you will get first choice of the yarns when we go splitting them up, and then we'll just kind of go back and forth, or maybe give you guys a chance to rank them, and then that may be an easier way to do that, and then just kind of go from there. But again, reach out to me if you have seen your name announced here, and we will get those to you. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it with me, to see what I am up to, and to get some inspiration for taking your knitting and doing some good with it in the world through fundraising or drives or whatever we can do, just to combine our love of the fiber arts and doing a little bit of good in our communities. I will be back in less than 2 weeks with a recap of Flock. If you've liked this content, please like and subscribe, share it with a friend. I love to continue to grow this this community and see all the things that you all are working on. So have a great week. I will talk to you soon. Bye.